Welcome. This is Impact 2022. I am your host, Nathaniel Watkins. And this is our continuing conversation where we talk about a lot of different issues, where we talk about current events, where we talk about issues of race, where we talk about issues of social justice, where we talk about religion, where we talk about everything, as they say, everything under the sun. But this is a conversation, and it goes both ways. I talk, and our guests talk, and you can talk as well. And you do that by typing in your questions and your comments to the comment section, and they will be addressed as they pop up. And so, as always, we encourage comments because that encourages the conversation. And so, just like always, we have a topic. We've been doing current events lately, and just like those days, we're hopping on current events today. And so, again, if you feel so inclined, please type your comments and your questions into the comment section, and they will be addressed as they come up. And so, as we hop right into it, today we're talking about something that we've talked about before. It's circle back. So we talked about it previously, and we're circling back to it. And when we talked about it before, it was an issue of talking about women, specifically Black women, being attacked for certain things that they're doing. And as we talk about it again now, we're talking about an activist, and her name is Pamela Moses. And some of you may have heard this story, and some of you may have not. But the story goes like this. Pamela Moses, who is a Black Lives Matter activist. She is a felon or a former felon. She has a felony charge on her record. She went to jail, she completed her time, and she is out on probation. And so she wanted to vote. And so she inquired with her probation officer and the probation officials about being able to vote because it was the end of her probation. And she was told that she was eligible to vote. And so after some back and forth, she applied to get her rights restored and be reinstated to be able to vote. So she registered to vote in 2019. As a result, they found out, or they said that she was not registered to vote. As far as being a felon, she had not had her rights restored. And they tried to charge her, they charged her with attempting to illegally vote. So she never voted. She only registered to vote, and they charged her with that. As a result, she was given a 6-year prison sentence for attempting to register to vote. This is in Memphis, Tennessee, just so we can give it some context as far as to where it is. So that is a felony charge. That's a felony for attempting to vote when you are not eligible to vote. And so, as we talked about it before, that was many people believe that was an intimidation tactic, especially because she's Black Lives Matter activist. This is a way to, one, just to help continue disenfranchising people by anybody who may have any kind of impropriety back in their past when it comes to the legal system, to make sure that they don't even attempt or try to vote, because usually the assumption is made for some reason that those voters are going to be more liberal voters, I guess, or vote for the Democratic Party, or that those voters would be people of color. And then the assumption again is that they would be liberal voters or the Democratic Party. So there's a myriad of reasons why certain people don't want other people to vote. It's racial and political at the same time. So that was what we talked about before. Fast forward to 2 days ago, it was found out that she didn't try to illegally vote. That her probation officers, gave her information that said you are eligible to vote. They approved that she was eligible to vote because they didn't do their due diligence according to the courts. And so when she went to go vote or to get registered to vote, it was because she had faulty information. And as a result, the charge was dropped. She was let out of jail. But that's after she spent over 80 days in jail. And get that right. 80 days of her life in jail. Why is this? Why are we talking about this? That's always a question every single week. So why is this important? And why are we talking about this? Um, the number one reason we're talking about this, or the number one reason it's brought up today, is because nothing has happened to any other participants who decided to put her in jail for 80 days when she told them that she had the information that said that she was eligible to vote, when she told them the process that she went through, and even after they investigated the process that she went through, and the judge in her trial just basically said that she was lying and she had figured out a way to try to scam the system. And so after 80 some days in jail, after a subsequent investigation was had, after protest and outcry from organizations like Black Lives Matter, like the NAACP in Tennessee, after all of this happened, no apology was even given. She was let out of jail, and the participants, the judge, the district attorney, prosecutors, all sat back and said nothing. As to the point of, well, some additional information was found, and that's it. And so 80 days in jail, intimidating anyone who has had something happen in their past with the legal system, and not even a major apology, public statement, nothing. And so what was done to her can be done to anybody else. What was done to her is a clear signal to anybody else that, yeah, you may, even if you do the right thing, we can throw you in jail for 80 days. It ain't nothing. And if you get lucky like she did, and a subsequent investigation, you get lucky like she was, because she was connected to Black Lives Matter, and so her stuff was political publicized, and so that people were able to lend a helping hand. If you're fortunate like her, you still gonna get 80 days. But if you're not, we might never even find you out. You want to serve the whole 6 years. And so I want to be clear on that one. That's why we're talking about this. Because is there a responsibility from those in power, those judges, those prosecutors, the district attorney, those people who are involved, not to abuse their power in a way that, as they have done by being, for lack of a better word, by just being mean with what they do, and by making you guilty because of the color of your skin, making you guilty because of your because of what we think that you're going to do at the voting box, making you guilty because you speak out against injustices. Comment. People who know the truth, believe the truth, and stand on the truth cannot be intimidated. That's I don't know. I don't know, because in this particular situation, this young lady knew the truth. She knew the truth was she had taken the right steps. She had gone to the right people, gone to the public officers, the probation officers, to make sure that she could vote. And then once she was given the information, she believed that she could vote, and then tried to register to vote. So she was walking in pure 100% truth. And yet she still got punished. And so in other people who may be walking in that same truth, I definitely could see them getting intimidated because of the fact that even with their truth, they can get intimidated because they don't want to go to jail, because they know that the people who are the judges, the people who are the prosecutors, the people who are the DA in Memphis, Tennessee, in Shelby County, more specifically, don't care. And so if I know that, if I'm sitting back here and saying, well, these people don't care, man, they don't care whether or not I'm right or wrong. All they want to do is try to lock somebody up. And that definitely can be intimidated. So even if I'm walking in my truth and believe the truth and stand on it, you gotta make a business decision or a personal life decision when you get ready to go to that ballot box. Is it worth it? you can definitely get intimidated out of doing that, and that's what they've done in this situation. And so I stand back and say, especially as Christians, we sit here lately. It's been a lot of conversation about what's the truth, about what is the truth, and I think what's important also as well is when you find something that's not true, I think that there has to be some kind of punishment or a result to those who try to push something that's not true, or to those who try to uh, hurt those who are walking in truth, or who are speaking the truth. In this situation, again, Pamela Moses went to jail for 80 days. But yet, the judge who said that she was lying and had the evidence before him, nothing will happen. The DA who pushed this along, nothing will happen to her. The prosecutors who pushed this along, nothing will happen to them. And then we take this one situation, and then we look countless other situations where investigators or officers were lying, or judges, just because of the color of somebody's skin, just decide that they're not going to do this or do that in the court or in the trial, or prosecutors who know somebody's not guilty or just want somebody to be guilty because they just want to get a win, will go ahead and push along evidence or push along situations or intimidate people into confessions that aren't true. And then yet nothing happens to them. And so as long as we continue to have those situations, you're always going to have people who, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied, people who will lose decades of their life. Luckily for her, she only lost 80 days, but 80 days is a long time. But you have people who are in jail for decades because prosecutor, judge, lawyers, DA, district attorneys, and other people as far as all along the judicial process can just go out of here with pure immunity and can lie, can cheat, can steal, can do poor jobs, and nothing happens to them. And in Miss Moses's case, just like many other people who have gone to jail, who have been falsely accused and falsely convicted, they can sue for some money. Well, you might get a nice size check, a couple $100,000 or $1 million. I don't know about most of you here, but 10 years of my freedom is not worth $1 million. I want my freedom. I don't want $1 million. I don't. Maybe it's me. It's not that I want revenge, but I definitely don't want $1 million. I want the people who were in these situations, or the people who were able to abuse me, will not be in power anymore to be able to abuse anybody else, or the people who are so easily trying to take away people's freedom or take away people's rights, lose some of their freedom and rights so that they can taste the same type of thing that they're doing to other people. More so, not as an equalizer, but more so as a lesson. Like, this is what it feels like for you to hurt these other people, and see what that feels like. So maybe you'll stop, or maybe the next time you won't do it. And so, as we've talked over this long period of time that we've been here with Impact 2022, we've talked over a long period of time about justice and rights, and trying to just decipher what are some of the ways that we can move our society along so that people aren't abused, that social justice applies to everyone, regardless of the color of their skin or their background, their race, their religion, whatever. I think that we have to make sure that people have not so much as consequences for their action, but to understand that there is a consequence if you do a bad job. Important jobs, when you have important jobs, and as they say, to whom much is given, much is required. When you have important jobs, there has to be some consequence for you doing a bad job. There was recently there was a story about a young lady who had she wasn't a young lady, a lady in her 70s who was trying to cross a bridge. She had her bicycle and she was walking across the bridge, and it was a drawbridge, and so the operator of the drawbridge ended up letting the bridge up, and the lady fell down to her death. Now, if you're going to operate a drawbridge, there is an awesome responsibility that you have to make sure that nobody is on the bridge. And because you have this awesome responsibility, because if you lift the bridge up too early, like in this case, somebody could die. And as a result, the lady who lifted the bridge up, she tried to make up a story with her supervisor because they were nervous about the fact that they didn't do a good job. And so it results in somebody's death. Now, the lady's fired. Now, the lady is also under the threat of being prosecuted and going to jail. Why? Because you had an awesome responsibility. You had a job that had an awesome responsibility. Well, if it's going to be for somebody who operates a drawbridge, you didn't have to go to school for years and years and years to operate the drawbridge. This isn't something that gets highly praised and respected in the community for a drawbridge. This wasn't something that you had to be elected by your peers to operate a drawbridge. But if you operate a drawbridge and somebody dies, or you affect somebody's life in a negative manner, and you can get fired and go to jail, wouldn't that be the least that would happen to somebody with a significant impact with a lot of people? A judge, a prosecutor, a DA, an investigator? If you can go to jail and get in trouble for operating a drawbridge incorrectly, I really think that you should have at least the same standard when it comes to people who are over our judicial system. Another comment. This is just the way I feel, but threats, punishment, etc. should not cause one to step away from truth. That way, we have martyrs. People who will stand despite the consequences. Yeah, I agree with that. I do, but at the same time, it takes a great person to do that. For every person who is willing to stand up to be a martyr, and I'll make up a number, but this is what I believe it probably is, if it isn't even worse. For every one person that you have that's going to stand up and be a martyr, you got 9 others who are not. 9 others who sit back and look at their situation and say, well, I got this person and this person I have to take care of. And if I martyr myself, then they're going to be out in the wind. Or you have this person that's just nervous and scared and doesn't have the same kind of, maybe belief system behind them to be a martyr or to go forward. And so, even though, we've had some greater generations where we've had people who were able to put themselves on the line. I can't necessarily just expect so many to do that. For every one, I would imagine 9 others who will say no. You're right. People should be held accountable for their actions, particularly when their actions harm others. Absolutely. I really think, and again, it's my personal opinion and feeling, but man, these jobs, we act like everybody's entitled to the job that they have or entitled to the career that they have. You work so hard, you should be able to keep this. And a mistake shouldn't mean that you lose your job or you lose your career. That may be true and right. However, I don't agree with it. I believe that there are certain jobs here that if you make a mistake, if you make an error, or if you make bad judgment intentionally, that you may need to find another profession. I think this is a wonderful world. God didn't make one job, and if you can only do one, that's a shame. I think you should probably be able to do more than one. And if you can't, again, that's a shame. But if you're not good at the one that you're doing, you don't need to keep doing it. If you are, I really say this about judges because I really have a low tolerance for some of the silliness that judges do. And I think they do it because of their immunity. Like they don't feel sometimes that they have to do a good job in every situation. And so you look at people's lives and you get mad and you be like, well, I'm gonna do this to them, or I'm gonna do that. Or you don't look as thorough at a situation because you look at the person and you're like, well, if they're not guilty here, I've looked at their past and I've seen how guilty they are. So I'm not gonna not going to give them the full opportunity that I would give another. If that's who you are, that's what you're going to do, if that's who you're going to be, there's no excuse for that. You should not. I don't care how many years you put into this career. You should not be able to continue to be a judge. The judge in this situation that decided with some arrogance that Pamela Moses illegally tried to register to vote, and that he somehow, because of his higher powered mind, could conjure up what her motivation was. That judge should be fired. That judge should no longer be a judge. That judge should be looking for a new thing. Maybe they just need to be judging beauty contests or something like that, but they should not have any kind of way to judge over human beings' lives in the justice system. Another comment. More like 1 out of 100 are willing to be a martyr. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's we shouldn't take it lightly. Martyrs are special people. And we're not talking about martyrs necessarily that have to die, but anybody who's willing to put their life on the line, whether it be your life as far as your physical life or your freedoms or even your opportunities. Some people have lost careers and other things like that. Anybody who's willing to put their life on the line, great person. And we should not take it lightly. And yes, those people who are empowered by the truth, they can't be intimidated. And those are some great people. And for all that one person who can do it, that other 99, we all need to be able to support. If you see somebody who's out here going to put their stuff on the line, just because you can't do it don't mean you go home and be like, man, they're a great person. No, we support them in whatever ways we can, because we know that they're picking it up for all of us. They're doing what we can't do. And so, yeah. So yes, I know this one was a little different from what we've had in the past couple of weeks. I know we've been hot and heavy with some topics, and this one is just a little bit a little less intense. But I think it's important that as we go forward, I think it's important, especially the younger people, as you think about what kind of society you want to push towards or live in, because as we all start to get a little bit more juice and a little bit more power, in decision making and processes. As young people get a little older, they're going to have to be able to make some decisions. Think about whether or not this whole antiquated system of you having people who have immunity should be able to continue on, to where you're able to hurt people and harm people's lives, and just be like, oops, or my fault. Because the problem is you don't know if it's actually an oops and your fault, or if that's a pattern of who you are and who you want to be. And, for me, losing your job or is the least amount of what should happen. I really feel like if you're going to harm people and put them in certain situations, if you're going to put a young lady in jail for 80 days because you believe that she illegally tried to vote, even though she took you through the process, then maybe you need to take a little 80-day vacation in the jail and just see how it feels. So maybe you won't be so cavalier with your words and your actions the next time. I just, but that's me. I may be wrong on that one. So anyway, all right. I want to thank everyone for the comments that came in. Thank everyone for joining us. This is Impact 2022. As always, we're here every week having these conversations and continue having these conversations. And remember that you can always put comments and questions into the comments and questions section after this is over and continue on the conversation. Please continue to be with us. Thank you. We will be here next week, just like we are every week at 8 o'clock. This is Impact 2022. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us.